The arena dust settled around Marcus Webb's boots as he stood in the circular pit, wondering how his diplomatic mission had gone so catastrophically wrong. 3 days ago, he'd been aboard the human survey vessel Horizon, charting unexplored sectors. Now he was somewhere on the frontier world of Drakkara, surrounded by 7-foot-tall reptilian warriors, who seemed very interested in watching him die. The crowd roared from the stone seats rising above the arena floor. Thousands of Drakkar filled the ancient Colosseum, their scaled faces reflecting the twin suns overhead. Marcus adjusted his stance, his knees bent slightly, ready for whatever came next. He'd already survived 2 rounds of their so-called trials, though nobody had bothered explaining the rules. Across the arena, a gate opened with a grinding screech. The warrior who emerged stood taller than the others, her crimson scales catching the light like polished armor. She wore minimal clothing, just enough to allow freedom of movement, and carried a bundle of javelins strapped to her back. The crowd's noise doubled in volume. "That's Commander Reva," whispered the small Drakkar, who'd been assigned as Marcus's attendant. The creature barely reached his shoulder. "She has never lost a challenge. You should make peace with your gods, human." Marcus didn't have time to respond. Reva had already drawn a javelin from her back, the weapon gleaming with an edge that looked sharp enough to split atoms. She raised it high, and the crowd fell silent. Her yellow eyes locked onto Marcus across the 100 feet of open ground between them. The javelin left her hand with a crack like thunder. Marcus had played baseball in college. He'd been good, damn good, with reflexes that had earned him a spot on the university's championship team. But this wasn't a baseball, and the projectile wasn't traveling at 90 miles per hour. It was moving faster than anything thrown by human hands should move. A blur of metal and death aimed directly at his chest. His body reacted before his mind caught up. His hands came up, tracking the javelin's path with desperate precision. Time seemed to stretch. He could see the spiral of the weapon's flight, the way it cut through the air, the microscopic wobble in its trajectory. His palms met the shaft 3 inches behind the razor-sharp point. The impact drove him back 2 steps. His shoulders screamed with the force of absorption. But his fingers closed around the wooden shaft, and he held it. He held it firm and steady, the point aimed at the sky. His knuckles white with effort. The silence in the arena was absolute. Marcus looked down at the javelin in his hands, then up at Reva. The warrior commander stood frozen, her expression unreadable. Around them, the crowd erupted into chaos, but not the bloodthirsty roar from before. This was different. Confused, shocked, Reva began walking toward him. Her movements were deliberate, controlled, but Marcus could see something in her posture that hadn't been there before. Uncertainty, perhaps, or something else entirely. She stopped 10 feet away. Up close, she was even more imposing, her musculature evident beneath her scales, her presence radiating contained power. She stared at the javelin in his hands, then at his face, and back at the javelin. "You caught it," she said. Her voice was deep, resonant, with only a slight accent coloring her fluent English. "I caught it," Marcus agreed. Because what else was there to say? That is not possible. And yet, Reva's expression shifted through several emotions Marcus couldn't identify. Finally, she turned to face the crowd and raised her arms. The gesture seemed to carry enormous weight. The Drakkar in the stands began chanting something in their native tongue, the same phrase over and over, building in intensity. "What's happening?" Marcus asked his attendant, who had crept closer. The small Drakkar's eyes were wide with disbelief. "The ancient law. The law that has not been invoked in 300 years. When a warrior throws the challenge javelin, and it is caught by the opponent, rather than dodged or deflected, it means the thrower has met their equal. Their destined match. Match for what? For everything. Combat, honor, life. Marcus felt his stomach drop. You're joking. The Drakkar do not joke about the old laws. Commander Reva is now bound to you. By catching her javelin, you have claimed her as your bonded warrior, and she has claimed you in return. Reva turned back to face him. She moved closer, so close he could see the individual scales on her face, the flecks of gold in her yellow eyes. She reached out and placed one clawed hand over his heart. The touch was surprisingly gentle. I am Reva of the Crimson Mountain Clan, she said formally. I have thrown my challenge, and you have answered in the way of legends. By the old law, by the covenant of our ancestors, I am yours, and you are mine. Until death parts us, or the stars grow cold. I'm Marcus Webb, geologist from Earth, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on. Something that might have been amusement flickered across Reva's face. You are human. Your species is new to this region of space. You could not have known the significance of catching a warrior's throw. No, I really couldn't have. It does not matter. The law is the law. It exists beyond knowledge or intention. She took the javelin from his hands, her claws brushing his fingers. Come, we have much to discuss, and the council will want to witness the bonding ceremony. The what now? But Reva was already walking toward the arena exit, and the crowd was cheering with renewed enthusiasm. Marcus's attendant gave him a push from behind. Go, go. You cannot refuse now. To refuse would mean death for both of you. The old laws are absolute. Marcus followed because the alternative seemed worse. They passed through torch-lit corridors beneath the Colosseum, guards falling into step around them. Reva walked with her head high, her bearing proud despite whatever had just happened. Can I ask a question? Marcus ventured. You may ask many questions. We are bonded now. What does that actually mean? Reva glanced back at him. It means I am your champion in all things. I fight your battles. I guard your life. I stand at your side against any threat. And you do the same for me. I'm a geologist. I study rocks. Now you study rocks with the greatest warrior of the Crimson Mountain Clan protecting you. She paused at a doorway. The bond is ancient, human. Older than our written history. It was the way our people survived in the early ages, when Drakkara was a death world, and only the strongest partnerships endured. Two souls, perfectly matched, unstoppable together. And if two people aren't perfectly matched, then one does not catch the javelin. The old law has its own wisdom. Reva pushed through the doorway into a large chamber where dozens of elder Drakkar waited. Come, let us make this official. The ceremony was elaborate and entirely in the Drakkar language. Marcus stood beside Reva while the elders chanted and performed rituals involving fire, water, and what he desperately hoped was symbolic blood. Through it all, Reva remained at his side, solid and unwavering. When it ended, she led him to private quarters and finally explained everything. The challenge system, the honor codes, the fact that by catching her javelin, he'd essentially proposed marriage by Drakkar standards, and she'd accepted by not killing him immediately afterward. This is insane, Marcus said, sitting heavily on a stone bench. This is law, Reva corrected. She sat beside him, her weight making the bench creak. But perhaps not unwelcome. I have searched for a worthy bondmate for 15 years. None could match me. Then a human appears, catches my fastest throw, and changes everything. I got lucky. Luck is skill unrecognized. She looked at him with those golden eyes. You are faster than any Drakkar I have known. Your species may be physically weaker, but your reflexes are remarkable. And your courage, to stand in that arena knowing nothing, deserves respect. Marcus met her gaze. So what happens now? Now we learn to be bonded. We train together, fight together, Leave together. The bond is for life, Marcus Webb of Earth. I hope you understand this. He thought about his mission, his ship, his carefully planned career studying planetary geology. Then he looked at the 7-foot warrior sitting beside him, who had apparently just become the most important person in his life through a series of events he still didn't fully comprehend. I caught a javelin, he said slowly. And now I have a bonded alien warrior wife. The greatest warrior, Reva corrected with unmistakable pride. The greatest warrior, Marcus amended. Despite everything, he felt a smile tugging at his lips. My superiors are going to have a field day with this in the mission report. Reva's expression shifted into something that might have been a smile. Good. Let them know that humanity has made its first bond with the Drakkar clan. This changes much between our peoples. No pressure then. None at all. She stood and offered him her hand, claws retracted. Come, I will teach you our ways, and you will teach me yours. That is how bonding works. Marcus took her hand and let her pull him to his feet. Somewhere outside, Drakkara's twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. His old life was gone, transformed in the space of a heartbeat and a desperate catch. But looking at Reva, at the strength and certainty in her bearing, he thought maybe his new life wouldn't be so bad after all. He'd always been good at adapting to unexpected situations. This was just more unexpected than most.